Chosen ones, March 27th. Heaven has spoken. You have done enough. Now let me take over. I'm going to tell you something now that perhaps no one has had the courage to tell you. You have already done too much. You ran too much. You carried too much. You endured too much. And the cruelest part of all is that no one noticed. No one saw the real weight of what you have been sustaining. You woke up every day, put on your clothes, left the house and functioned. You functioned at work. You functioned in the family. You functioned in your obligations. You functioned for the entire world while inside you were falling apart. And today, March 27th, heaven interrupted your routine to tell you a single phrase. Enough. You have already done your part. Now let me take over. If this gave you chills, if something inside your chest moved upon hearing these words, do not close this video. Because what I am going to reveal to you in the next few minutes is not motivation. It is a direct order from heaven over your life. And if you miss this, you will continue carrying a weight that should have been dropped on the ground a long time ago. I need to start with where you are right now, and I know exactly where it is. It is a place that has no name in common language, but that everyone over 35 in Brazil knows in their skin. It is that place where you are not in crisis, but you are not at peace either. You are not sick, but you are not healthy either. You are not sad, but joy seems like a distant memory, as if it belonged to a previous version of you that no longer exists. You are in what I call the zone of invisible exhaustion. On the outside, the machine works. On the inside, the screws are loose. And the most perverse part of this zone is that it prevents you from asking for help, because technically nothing is wrong. You don't have a diagnosis. You don't have a recent traumatic event to point to. You don't have a justification that the world considers valid to stop. So you continue. You continue functioning. You continue producing. You continue carrying. A study by the Fundação Getúlio Vargas, in partnership with the Department of Organizational Psychology, showed that 68% of Brazilian adults over 40 live in this state of functional exhaustion. These are people who maintain productivity at work, fulfill their family and social responsibilities, but who at the end of the day experience an emotional void they cannot name. The study called this forced functioning syndrome, and the most alarming data was the discovery that the greatest risk factor for this state is not the amount of work. It is the absence of perceived meaning. You are not tired because you do too much. You are tired because you lost the connection between what you do and why you do it. And when the why disappears, every action turns into weight. Every obligation becomes a prison. Every day that begins feels like a sentence to be served. Now stop for a second and think about your last week. How many times did you do something on autopilot? How many times did you complete a task without being present in it? How many times did you reach the end of the day and couldn't remember a single moment that felt genuine, as yours as something you chose and not just executed? If the answer bothers you, great. Because discomfort is the first sign that you are still alive inside. The real danger is not feeling this weight. The danger is getting used to it. And many people have gotten used to it. They turned exhaustion into identity. They made survival a philosophy of life. And gradually, without realizing it, they stopped living and began merely existing. If this channel has already brought you a word that made a difference in your day, subscribe now and activate the notification bell. I am not asking out of vanity. I am asking because what I am going to reveal to you from here on changes the game completely, and I need you to be positioned to receive it when it manifests in your life. Now let's go to the root, because if I don't show you where this pattern comes from, you will continue trying to solve the problem with the wrong tool, and this wrong tool has a name you know very well: effort. Yes, effort, the most valued word in Brazilian culture. Since you were a child, they taught you that effort is the answer to everything. Work more, dedicate yourself more, wake up earlier, go to sleep later. Grind, and it will work out. And don't get me wrong, effort has value. Discipline has value. But there is a point where effort stops being a tool and becomes a trap. And that point is when you are trying to make something happen by your own strength that has already been ordered to happen by a force infinitely greater than yours. I will explain this to you in a way that will clear your mind. Imagine a river. This river has a natural current flowing in a specific direction. Now imagine that you are inside this river, and instead of aligning yourself with the current, you are swimming against it. Not because you are stubborn, not because you are disobedient, but because someone taught you that virtue lies in effort, not in alignment. So you swim with all your might, stroke after stroke, muscles burn, lungs fail, the body screams. And you look around and realize that, despite all this monumental effort, you have hardly moved. Worse, the people who seem to be progressing without so much effort pass by you floating in the same current you are fighting against. This is not injustice. This is misalignment, and heaven is telling you today that the problem is not that you need to swim harder. The problem is that you need to stop swimming and allow the current to carry you. This is so counterintuitive that it provokes immediate resistance, I know. Because stopping in your head means giving up. It means being weak. It means not caring. But I need you to listen very carefully to what I am going to tell you now. In the language of heaven, stopping is not weakness. It is surrender. And surrender is not defeat. Surrender is alignment. It is saying to God, I am tired of trying to do in my strength what can only be done in yours. The Hebrew word for this concept is rapha. It appears in Psalm 46 verse 10, usually translated as be still or be silent. But rapha in the original is much more powerful. It literally means to let go, to loosen, to release one's hands. It is the image of someone who was clinging to something with all their strength and finally opens their fingers and lets it fall. Not out of weakness, out of trust, because they understood that holding with their own hands that which belongs in the hands of God is the greatest form of distrust that exists. And this is where the biblical story of Jehoshaphat becomes the key that opens everything. If you don't know Jehoshaphat, pay close attention, because his situation is frighteningly similar to yours. Jehoshaphat was king of Judah, a man who did the right things, who sought God, who governed with integrity. And suddenly 3 enemy armies marched against him at the same time. 3, not 1, not 2. 3 combined armies, coming from different directions, all with the same objective, to destroy him. Remember this image because it probably reflects what you are living. It is not one problem you face. It is several, coming from several directions at the same time, and the feeling is one of total siege. Now, what Jehoshaphat did in the face of this situation is what separates the chosen from the common. He did not set up a military strategy. He did not summon the army. He did not try to solve it by force. According to the account in Chronicles, Jehoshaphat stood before the people and said to God, "We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you." This phrase is probably the most honest and powerful prayer anyone can make. It is not a prayer of blind faith. It is a prayer of conscious surrender. It is admitting, I no longer have resources, I no longer have strategy, I no longer have strength, but I know who does. And God's response to Jehoshaphat was one of the most extraordinary phrases in all of Scripture. The battle is not yours, it is mine. Position yourselves, stand firm, and see the salvation I will operate. Did you hear that? Position yourselves and stand firm. He didn't say attack, he didn't say fight. He said stay where you are and observe. And do you know what happened the next day? Jehoshaphat ordered the choir to go ahead of the army, not the warriors, the choir. People singing praises walked in front of the troops, and while they sang, God caused the 3 enemy armies to become confused and destroy each other. When Jehoshaphat and the people reached the battlefield, there was no one left to fight. There were only spoils to collect. The victory happened without them needing to fight. I need you to absorb this with all the depth it deserves, because this is not a story of the past. This is a prophetic photograph of what is about to happen in your life. You have been fighting armies that were not yours to combat. You carried battles that were not yours to resolve. And heaven is saying now at this exact moment, position yourself, stand firm, and observe. I will do what you could never do alone. If this is making sense to you, if this message is hitting a place inside you that normal words do not reach, leave your like on this video now. Because when you like it, this message reaches other people who are carrying the same weights as you, and perhaps your like is the instrument God uses to position the right word before someone who is on the verge of giving up. Now I need to move into territory that few preachers, few speakers, and few content creators have the courage to enter. Because there is a question that has been pulsing in your mind since the beginning of this video, and I will not pretend it doesn't exist. The question is, but how? How do I stop if the bills don't stop? How do I let go if the family depends on me? How do I surrender if the world demands that I function? This question is legitimate, and anyone who tells you to simply stop without showing you how is selling you an illusion. So I will give you the real answer, practical and spiritual at the same time. The surrender that heaven asks for is not inaction. It is not quitting your job, locking yourself in your room, and waiting for a miracle to fall from the ceiling. Divine surrender is a change of internal posture that radically transforms the quality of your external action. It is the difference between acting out of desperation and acting out of direction. It is the difference between doing because you are afraid of what happens if you don't, and doing because you received clarity about the next step. Researchers at USP and the Center for Studies in Positive Psychology and Spirituality published a series of studies demonstrating that people who report practicing what they call active surrender, that is, maintaining responsibilities while consciously transferring control of the results to a higher instance, show a reduction of up to 40% in cortisol levels and a significant increase in decision-making capacity under pressure. In other words, when you stop trying to control the outcome and simply execute with presence the step that is before you, your own body functions better. Stress decreases, mental clarity increases, and paradoxically results improve. Not because you did more, but because you did it with less interference from fear. I will give you an example that will make this tangible. Imagine a man named Roberto, 51 years old, owner of a small food distributor in the metropolitan region of Curitiba. In the last 2 years, Roberto lived what he himself describes as the siege of Jehoshaphat. 3 simultaneous crises. A main supplier broke the contract without notice. The eldest son got involved in problems that generated unexpected expenses and sleepless nights. And his wife, after 24 years of marriage, said she couldn't take his emotional absence anymore and wanted a separation. 3 armies, 3 directions, at the same time. Roberto did what most Brazilian men of his generation do. He tried to solve everything alone. He worked more hours. He cut costs to the bone. He renegotiated contracts under unfavorable conditions just to keep the company alive. He tried to talk to his son, but the conversations ended in shouting. He tried to win back his wife, but every attempt seemed to push her further away. He did everything he knew how to do. He used all the tools in his repertoire, and nothing worked. The problems not only remained, but deepened. And it was at rock bottom, literally sitting on the office floor at 11 at night with the lights off, that Roberto said Jehoshaphat's prayer without knowing he was doing it. He said out loud, alone, to the ceiling, "I don't know what to do anymore. I have nothing left. If you exist, do something because I can't anymore." That night, Roberto didn't solve anything. He went home, slept for the first time in weeks without the weight of trying to control the next day, and woke up different. Not that the problems had vanished, but something inside him had changed. In the days that followed, he stopped reacting and started responding. He stopped forcing and started observing, and things began to happen that he didn't plan and couldn't have orchestrated. An old client called out of nowhere, offering a contract that covered exactly the hole left by the supplier. The son, without any direct intervention, sought help on his own after a conversation with a teacher, who said exactly the words Roberto had been trying to say for months. And the wife, realizing that he had stopped trying to fix everything frantically and had become present, genuinely present for the first time in years, sat beside him one night and said, "I saw that something changed in you. I want to try again." None of these things were manufactured by Roberto. He didn't plan them, he didn't manipulate them, he didn't force them, he surrendered, and when he surrendered, heaven took over. The river's current began to carry him in the right direction. Write the word surrender in the comments now, not as defeat, as a declaration. You are saying to heaven, "I understand. I let go. I trust." Write surrender and keep watching, because the final part of this video will seal what is beginning to happen inside you at this moment. Now I need to reveal something to you that will connect everything I have said so far and transform it into a principle that you will carry for the rest of your life. There is a divine pattern that repeats throughout Scripture, And once you see this pattern, you will never look at your life the same way again. The pattern is this: every great manifestation of God is preceded by a period of absolute silence. Before the Red Sea opened, Moses and the people were trapped between the sea and the Egyptian army, in total silence with no visible way out. Before Lazarus rose, he was dead in the tomb for 4 days, in silence. Before Jesus rose, there was the silent Saturday, the longest day in the history of faith, when the disciples thought everything was over. And before your next change, there is this silence you are living now. Silence is not the absence of God. Silence is God's preparation room. It is where He organizes what is about to happen without you seeing, without you participating, without you interfering. And your interference, however well-intentioned it may be, delays the process. Because when you try to help God, you are saying, even without words, that you do not trust that He can do it alone. And God, in His infinite patience, waits. He waits for you to tire. He waits for you to try all your strategies. He waits for you to reach the office floor at 11 at night and finally say, "I don't know what to do anymore," because it is there, at that exact point of total exhaustion of the ego, that the door opens. The prophet Isaiah recorded one of the deepest and most neglected promises in the Bible. It says, "Those who wait on the Lord renew their strength. They mount up with wings like eagles. They run and are not weary. They walk and do not faint." Most people skip straight to the eagle wings part because it is the beautiful part. But the key word of this entire promise is not flying, it is waiting. In Hebrew, the word used is kava, and kava does not mean waiting in the passive sense, like someone waiting for a bus. Kava means to twist, to intertwine, like the fibers of a rope being braided together. It is the image of two forces joining into one thing. When you kava in God, you are not standing still waiting. You are being intertwined with Him. Your weakness is being braided with His strength. Your exhaustion is being woven together with His energy. And the final product of this braid is a rope that does not break. You are in this process now, exactly now. The exhaustion you feel is not the end. It is the moment when the fibers are being joined. And when this process is complete, you will run and not be weary. You will walk and not faint. Not because you became stronger, but because it is no longer just you alone. It is you intertwined with something infinitely greater. Research from the HeartMath Institute in the United States corroborates this from a neurocardiac perspective. They discovered that the physiological state that most closely resembles what spiritual traditions call surrender or yielding is what science calls cardiac coherence. It is a state in which the heart rhythm, breathing and brain waves enter into perfect synchrony. And the most fascinating part, this state is not achieved by effort. It is achieved by letting go. When a person stops trying to control and simply allows, the entire body reorganizes its systems into an efficiency that conscious effort cannot replicate. Science is literally confirming what Psalm 46 said 3,000 years ago. Be still, let go. And then you will experience something that struggle could never produce. I want you to visualize something now. Imagine you are holding a huge suitcase with both hands. This suitcase contains everything you are trying to solve: the financial problems, the complicated relationships, the worries about the children, health, the future, fear, uncertainty. You have been carrying this suitcase for so long that your arms no longer feel the weight. They are simply locked in the holding position. You don't even realize you are carrying it anymore because it has become part of your body. Now imagine someone approaches you, someone bigger, stronger, infinitely more capable. And this person looks into your eyes and says, "Give me that suitcase, I'll carry it from here." And you look at this person and you know they can. You know they are capable. You know they want to. But your fingers won't open, not because you don't trust, but because holding on has become so natural that you forgot what it's like to live with free hands. This is today's invitation. Open your fingers. Let go of the suitcase, not because the problems will magically disappear, but because there is someone willing to carry them for you, and this person is not human. It is divine. And they didn't make you this offer out of pity. They made it because they love you, and they love with a type of love that does not depend on your performance, your productivity, or your ability to solve everything alone. The Apostle Peter, a man who knew well the weight of trying to solve things in his own strength, wrote something that, when you read it with the eyes of the heart, works as instant relief. He said, "Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you." The Greek word Peter uses for cast is eperipto, and this word does not mean to place delicately. It means to hurl, to throw with force. It is the image of someone who takes that weight and throws it far away in the direction of God with all the accumulated intensity. Peter did not say to deliver it politely. He said to hurl it. Because the anxiety you carry does not deserve gentleness, it deserves to be thrown far away from you with all the strength remaining in your arms. If you have made it this far, I need you to do something now. Share this video with that person you know is carrying too much, that person everyone thinks is strong, who solves everything, who never needs help, that person who is functioning on autopilot and who needs to hear that heaven is saying enough. Give me that suitcase. Your sharing could be the instrument that positions this message at the exact moment that person needs it most. Now I will close with something I want engraved in your spirit. Psalm 138 verse 8 says, "The Lord will perfect that which concerns me. He will perfect. Not maybe, not if you deserve it, not if you do everything right. He will. It is a declaration. It is a decree. It is a certainty engraved in eternity. What concerns you, what is connected to your purpose, God will perfect. He did not ask for your help for this. He does not need you to fix what He has already decided to complete. He only needs you to get out of the way, to let go of control, to stop swimming against the current and allow the river to carry you. Your season of survival is ending. I know you have heard this before and nothing changed. I know promises have lost weight in your life because many were not fulfilled. But I ask you to listen with your spirit and not with the memory of disappointment. This time is different, not because I am saying it, but because something inside you knows. That voice you hear when everything goes silent, that restlessness that will not be hushed, that feeling that there is something about to happen that you cannot explain, that is the inner testimony of what is to come. Heaven did not bring you this far to abandon you in the middle of the process. The same voice that called you before you were born is whispering now, "I will perfect that which concerns you. Rest. Let go. I take over from here." Write the phrase "I let go" in the comments. It is your declaration of surrender, not of defeat, of alignment, of trust, of faith that no longer needs to see to believe. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell, because in the next video, I will reveal to you exactly what happens in the first 72 hours after you let go of the suitcase, after heaven takes over. And I guarantee you, what comes next is greater than anything your effort could have built alone. Heaven has spoken, you have heard. Now rest, your divine takeover has begun.